Okay, so we heard three of the students from UNT, and we also heard a little bit from Glenn's CD. It's wonderful to have you with us, Glenn. Thanks for taking the time. Maybe if you want to go through the three performances with any comments you like, and then we'll do the Q&A. But a very warm welcome to Glenn Van Looy.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, David. Thank you for asking me. It's really nice to hear you guys play. It's some really wonderful playing. I liked it very much. I don't know why, but Green Hill seems to follow me everywhere. Everywhere where I go, people ask me questions about Green Hill. About that performance, I know it's a very tough piece. It's not a very difficult piece, as we euphonium players play a lot stuff that is a lot more difficult than this. But the most difficult part of this piece, I think, is about the breathing. You really have to breathe in the right way. How the phrases are done, especially in the beginning, in the slow part. The phrases are so long, and it's incredibly difficult. So I think the guy that played this can work a little bit more on his on breathing. Also, if you saw me on that last little video, when I breathe, I lift up my euphonium and I try and lift up my rib cage, because we all have my teachers always said you have to breathe with your stomach, but then of course our lungs, they're here, so it's normal that this lifts up as well. And we as euphonium players, we can, if we lift up the instrument just a little bit, then we can take even more air, I think. So that's just one the thing I picked on the most: the breathing in the right place in the phrases, and breathe bigger so we can phrase a little bit longer. And then another thing to be careful with in the three performances is our dynamics. So when we go up, we tend to play louder, so we use some clarity in the lower range in the three performances. So be aware that if we play higher, the frequencies are going faster in our ears. So you probably know all this stuff. I'm just repeating what David is telling you every week. But the high notes, they don't need as much effort, because they sound a lot louder anyway. So put a little bit more emphasis and more air through the low range, especially in the first technical part of Green Hill, when you've got this the counter melody. I think it's B, letter B or something. I don't have the parts. I don't know it from memory, but and then the jig, I think it can just relax a little bit more, and that first rhythm, bum bum dun dun. If that isn't right, if that doesn't sit right, then we don't have that real. What is it? Is it? It's Irish or something, isn't it? Or Scottish, Irish. So you go da dun da 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 dun da da dun. Just set that first rhythm well, and then I think it'll be already a lot more in style. Um, the second one, very good sound. I think you can take a little bit more time in the opening cadenza. It all seemed once we've got 16 notes or 30 seconds, it seems a little bit rushed. Take your time to play that opening cadenza and really tell what you want to say and not just go too fast over all the notes. I think um, I like the idea about playing the theme so soft, but it has to be with enough air support that everything really comes out of the instrument, so that we hear all the notes and all the slurs very nicely. I think if you play this soft, you can try and move your jaw a little bit forward and push it a little bit more on your bottom lip, so then you can keep the support um, when playing soft. That really helps me when I try and play soft and I miss some attacks or something. I just think about a more bottom lip support. Um, and then the variations, apart from the last one, you can be very fast and flashy. Um, but I think you can also make a little bit more take more time in the other variations. You have to think about the melody, and the melody you play really well, and you play with a little bit of rubato in the melody, so you can take this rubato into your variations as well. The piano player will know what you want if you're very clear with what you want yourself. So they will follow anyway the piano. So you can play with a little bit more rubato through those variations. And then the Ave Maria, lovely, beautiful in that is a church um, with the organ. That's a really nice effect. Careful with the intonations, all the intervals that they're really dead on, because it's in a slow melody like this, and especially with the organ, it's quite clear if the intervals aren't perfect. And again, when you slur up higher, the sound comes more towards us. So work more through the bottom range. I think that's in all three what we can do in all three of the performances. It's we want to go to those higher notes and we want to give some crescendo, um, but we can't forget how important the low ones are, especially in clarity and everything.
That's great, Glenn. Thank you very much. All really, really good points. Jason, Tyler, and Thomas, well done. Is there anything you want to ask Glenn in response to his feedback there? You're going to take it all on board, go away and practice it, I hope. Yes, good stuff. All right, well, look, we've got about half an hour left, Glenn, so we can have a little chat. How are you? How's lockdown been for you?
It's been fine because you saw my little girl, so I'm occupied at home, and it's nice to spend a lot of time at home because normally we travel quite a lot. But I'm quite lucky over here that we've never really shut down in a complete lockdown. So apart from March for 2 months, but we could still go out. We were never locked down in our apartment or our house. So it's been okay. And now since May, I can do all the one-on-one teaching, and they still haven't stopped that yet. So let's hope that we can still do this. But of course, I'm missing the traveling and the performing because I took some time off when we had our little daughter. So I think my last solo concert was December 2019, and then I did a couple of
Wow.
gigs with the quartet. But yeah,
Yeah.
starting to miss playing now.
Yeah, I think we all are. Certainly in a live setting. I mean, it's great to do this kind of thing, but that relationship between the audience and the performer—that's something that we're all hoping to get back to fairly soon. I think. Not everyone will know where you are because although you're from Belgium, that's not where you live, is it?
No, no. So I 5 or 6 years ago, I moved over to Switzerland. So I met my wife, which was my girlfriend at the time, and then moved up to Switzerland. So I'm in the Alps, in the French part of Switzerland, close to Montreux. If some people may know it, and then it's quite close to Italy as well. So I'm right at the south of Switzerland.
It's a beautiful part of the world. Do you do any skiing?
No, I live like not even 15 minutes from the ski slopes. But no,
Not
I
yet.
never did it when I was young. So it's maybe when Edith starts, I'll take lessons with her.
Okay. Well, look, I've got some questions here from the guys. So I'll start with a few technical ones first of all. Um, Jordan has a question which is related to composers. Actually, he's asking what composers would you like to see compose for the euphonium in the future?
Um, I think we're very lucky now that so many people are already commissioning great composers, and that composers seem to like the euphonium now as well. But I I had the chance to play in a symphony orchestra for Mark Anthony Turnich's Blood on the Floor, which has got a nice euphonium part. Um, and I really liked his pieces, so I think a piece by him that would be amazing.
If you haven't heard of Mark Anthony Turnage, look him up on YouTube. He's an English composer, but his style of writing is really fresh. And yeah, I mean that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But you've actually commissioned a lot of music yourself, Glenn. Out of the pieces that you've had commissioned, do you have any favourites, including Green Hill?
Well, funny enough, I had a chat with Hiram Diaz a couple of weeks ago on Instagram, and he asked this question as well. But when I did my first CD a couple of years ago, I commissioned lots of new music for the CD, and actually the Green Hill. It was given by me by the published company, and it isn't written for me. So it's the only piece on that CD that isn't written for me.
Oh well, it's certainly popular out here in the States, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so Max Dobson wants to know what do you do to practice your high range?
I think about pushing the air through my through the instrument and pulling up my tongue so the airstream is smaller, so the speed of air goes faster. But how do I do this? With arpeggios going up, but always starting from a low range to keep the air going. And another thing I do now is the James Stamp. Um, when you go from ba da 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 dee da 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 in those octaves. And lately I've been yeah, and lately I've been using a lot of the trombone methods. The David Vining as well. He's got a staccato one which goes up in arpeggios, which is very helpful as well. So yeah, those are the main ones really, but really focus on airflow, and I combine it with low register all the time.
It's interesting, isn't it, that in order lots of players say similar things that in order to get a better high register, if you focus on your low register too, that it enhances it, probably because
Yeah,
of the breathing.
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So Stephanie wants to know what's your preferred ways of warming up.
Uh, what's my preferred way of warming up?
Well, do you warm up? Do you warm up? That's the first question.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, I
Okay.
spent quite some time when I was a student. I warmed up for an hour or something, but I then realized that when you go into real life, it's way too long. So then I changed my routine a little bit. I do a little bit on my mouthpiece, not too much, because I don't want to close it, just to get some blood around going in your lips, and then try. I start with some staccato straight away, not to stop the air and not to have a fluffy staccato, and lots of flexibilities to go over the whole range, just to see that the sound is right, and always think about producing the right sound. And then if it feels well, then I just go on practicing, really.
Oh, well, that leads us on to Tanner's question, which is what does a normal practice routine look like for you?
Yeah, so it's some warm ups, and then I'll go into flexibility, which I use the John Ridgeon or and then I'll do some technical stuff with Clark, some Visuti for my technique, and arpeggios or harmonic um, flexibility exercises, really, and then Arbon, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, and during this period that we've all been in, you said in Switzerland it's not been quite as locked down as it is elsewhere. But have you struggled at all with the motivation to keep on top of your practice without the full diary of concerts that you normally have?
Yeah, I have a little bit, yeah. But then when I was playing with my students and I kept missing notes, I thought, I can't be doing this. So I can't bollock them to say you have to practice harder and then don't do it myself. So no, and then lately I've just recorded a video, and I'm maybe thinking about doing a recital online or something. I just want to keep pushing myself. So I yeah, I think I've got a quite a good steady routine now.
Mm.
Um, and actually, this year I only took one day off, and it was the last day of January. But the other days I tried to play I played every day. Um, so yeah, I tried to do it as regularly as possible.
Oh well, that's good. It sounds like you're creating your own goals to aim towards, which is a sensible thing for all of us. So, you mentioned in Thomas's performance about intonation, and Andy Ragland has asked the question: what techniques do you use for developing your ability to identify and correct errors in intonation? Is there anything specific that you'd advise to help with intonation?
I think intonation goes together with having a good sound. If your sound is right, and if you produce the note in the center, it should sound right. And then of course we've got the intervals, but I do a lot of interval studies in the Arbon or even in region, and then I keep an ear on the intonation. Uh, um, of course, it's difficult now when we play. I had a student yesterday actually, which I hadn't seen for a while, and the intonation was all over the place because we correct our intonation by playing together a lot of the time, and if we don't have it now, so you have to be really careful and practice with a tuner, or some people even play with like a drone sound or something. I've never tried it because I think that your note it relates in how the interval is, and it's just not the drone sound is maybe not the sound you will always hear or you'll compare to listening to your intonation. But I think we just have to be very careful, especially now. But by playing together and with some different people and with friends, I think that really helps for intonation.
That's really helpful. Thanks. Um, Brad has a quite wide-arching question here. What does music mean to you?
It means a lot, of course, because
And I should add, he also follows it up with, and what brought you into the field, and how has its meaning changed for you over your career? What do you try to do with it in your playing? So plenty to get your teeth stuck into there.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit in the same situation as you are, David. So I grew up with music. My dad conducts. He still conducts. He's a trombone player. So when I was young, he took me to rehearsals, and then the rehearsal was in the garage of the president, of the band's president. So the house was right next to it, of course. And then during the interval of the break of the rehearsal, they would put me and my sister in bed, and then they'll do the second part of the rehearsal, and then of course the third part of the rehearsal. And then they picked us up, put us in the car, and we just slept and went home. So Saturday morning, that was on a Friday night. So Saturday morning, we woke up and we were at home again. But from a very young age, we were going to the rehearsals. I could hear my dad practicing. So that's how I started with music. So I've been hearing music and brass music for as much as I can remember. So of course it means a lot to me. And then my wife plays music as well. We play together in the band. So it's a very big part of my life. And I think what we can do, it's like, does music change? It didn't really change. It's if I listen to live performances now, sometimes with my wife, we sit at home and we put on YouTube and watch a band's performance, and it really touches us. And I think that's the important thing about making music, making live music, touching people and telling your story, giving emotions onwards to the audience. And I think I hope that remains very important, even with all the digital stuff going on.
Absolutely, that's a fantastic answer. And I remember actually, Glenn. I think it was Brass Band Heist. I came and did something with in Belgium. You
Yeah.
were very young then, but I remember you playing the Horowitz concerto for me. But maybe between the rehearsal and the concert, and I wasn't expecting much from this tiny little lad. But you were brilliant back then, and you went on to win so many prizes. And those performances that you mentioned that you watch on YouTube, I'm not sure whether they your own performances, but for all of you on the chat here, you should definitely look up some of the live performances that Glenn's been involved in, particularly with brass bands, whether it be at the Swiss Championships or at the European Championships or at the British Open or the Nationals. He's been playing at the highest level for as long as I can remember now. And yeah, whenever I see, I always think back to that moment with Heist Brass Band. That was a long time ago, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that was a very long time ago. I think it was a double concert with Corey, wasn't it? Corey was over in Belgium as well.
That's probably what it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, long time ago. All right, well, that's great. Let's move on to some different types of questions then. Blake Birmingham wants to know, what hobbies do you enjoy outside of euphonium?
Yeah, so if you follow my Instagram page, you can see a lot of biking. Well, not now because there's some snow going on now. I went for a first bike ride on Saturday, but I'm quite into biking, so road race biking. That's also I watch it on TV as well. I like watching the Tour de France and all that stuff. I go running. But it was a little bit easier in Belgium than up here, because it's so it goes uphill all the time over here. But
Your grandfather was a biker, wasn't he? Or you used to bike with your grandfather? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's why I got into cycling even as a young kid. He lives 1 kilometer from my parents' place. So when the Tour de France was on, I was always at his place watching it, and then um, I wanted to ride my bike with him, and he still does. He's 85 now, and he still rides his bike 3 times a week.
that's great. Well, I think there's a couple of guys that obviously follow you on Instagram because Tommy was asking actually what whether you are into road racing, and obviously you've just answered that. But Jordan wanted to know what your favourite bike trail or route was. Do you have a
Uh,
favourite ride?
Yeah, I've got a couple over here, but I definitely want to do some more abroad as well. So I had a when I put on Instagram on Saturday that I was biking, I had a message from Anthony Galigné, who's a French tenor horn player, and he said, "Let's do the Mont Ventoux." So it's a big mountain in France. Um, he said, "Let's do that together." Um, so I definitely want to get into some more tracks over here. But I do. It's not really a race because I can't compete. I'm too slow. But it's a road race over here for amateurs. It's called the what's it called? The Tour des Stations. So it goes from ski resort to ski resort because there's lots of ski resorts around the area. I live in a valley, so every top of a mountain has got a ski resort. So there's a bike race and it's 140 kilometers and there's 4,700 meters elevation.
Wow.
So I did that twice now. But actually, I'm supposed to do it in August, but a week earlier, my wife is due again, so I'm not sure if I can make it this year.
Okay. Well, you obviously one is more important than the other.
Yeah.
Um, so Liam and Chris, they were interested to know what were your biggest inspirations, either in euphonium or the general world of music when you were growing up.
When I was growing up, I think I was quite music-wise, I was quite closed. So I would only listen to euphoniums, um, which I wouldn't recommend to my students now. It's like listen to other music, listen to cello, violin, listen to singers, listen to trombones, listen to everything. But when I was a kid, I only listened to euphonium players, and of course, David, you were a big inspiration for me. You still are, and. Stephen Mead, of course, but I also listen a lot to Steph Pillard. I don't know if you guys know him because he stopped a while ago now, but he was the principal euphonium of brass band Willowbrook, and he was. I think he must have been one of the first euphonium players that I heard live playing with his band, and that's when I thought, this is what I want to do, and this is fantastic. So if there's still a lot of performances on YouTube from Willowbrook with Steph Pilat. So I would definitely suggest you guys checking him out.
He was a fantastic euphonium player and a really fine teacher as well, wasn't he? Did Steph teach you, Glenn?
No, no, he didn't because he I don't think he did some master classes, but he didn't have a euphonium class or anything because
Right.
he was an engineer as well. He was a teacher at the university, but for engineering, not for euphonium.
So euphonium was just his hobby.
Yeah, he did both masters at the same time in the same year, so he was a very clever boy.
Yeah, really stunning play. I remember hearing him play. I think it was a cello piece by Max Bruch.
Yeah,
Um,
Clay McGuire. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, he played it at one of the European Championship Gala concerts.
yeah.
Beautiful. And so Brandon wants to know what's your most memorable moment as a euphonium player.
I don't really know because I've enjoyed so many of them, but I think one of the the biggest one was when I won the British Open in 2008, when I won the solo championships when it still existed. I was 17 and it was I did the slow melody. So they've got a slow melody contest and then an air and variation contest. And I did the slow melody the year before, and then when you're age 17, you can go in, you can enter. You're too old for the slow melody, and you can enter in the open series. And the first year I did it, I won it straight away, and I was very surprised. because my teacher said, "Yeah, you go there, but don't expect anything, because the level over there is incredibly high." And I won it somehow, so I was very happy with that, and I think that started my career a little bit. But then another moment that I really remember was, I think it was 2011, when it was the European Brass Band Championships in Linz, and they did the solo competition the week before. Um, I think it was probably the toughest competition I've ever done, because there's a round every day. In the others, I've done Lieksa, Jeju. There's a couple of days in between the different rounds, and this one was like, you play in the morning. You know that you're through for the next day, so you rehearse with the piano uh, in the afternoon, and then the next day you play the second round, the same rehearsal again, third round, same rehearsal with band, and you play the final. So it was quite heavy, and I was on the phone with my dad all the time. He's been very supportive towards my career, and he was there for me all the time. So when I told him that I was in the final, he jumped into his car and he came over to Linz, which would probably be like a 10 or 11 hour drive. So he made it right in time for the final. So it was quite special seeing him in the audience when I was doing that.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that's absolutely lovely. Look, you mentioned Jeju competition there, and Thomas actually had a question about that. Can you tell us about your experience with that particular competition?
Yeah, it was great. I loved going over there. I've done it twice, and it's you, you- it's like a low brass fest really, because well, when I was there was trumpets and everything. So everybody goes out and has a beer together afterwards. Or I know a guy called Raphael Rosset, Steve Rosset's
Hmm.
son. He was there at the same time as I was, and we would practice together on a football field in the middle of the night, because there was nobody around. So it's quite nice to learn from different players, getting to know different types of players, different backgrounds. Yeah, it was very good. The food was great as well.
Sounds it. And so, sticking with the theme of competition, Juan wants to know: have you ever heard of Drum Corps International (DCI)? And if you have, what's your opinion on it?
I haven't heard about that particular one, but I know what the drum corps are and what the American bands are, and I like it very much. I don't know if it's the same, but I think it's there's some bands that use some brass band pieces, don't they?
Yeah, that's
So
right. They probably don't know their brass band pieces when they're playing them, but yeah, there's an awful lot that gets transcribed to usually Peter Graham or Paul Levitt Cooper or that kind of.
yeah, but there's even a fraternity one, isn't there?
Is there really?
Yeah, I think there
Okay,
is. Yeah. So I think it's great. The technical part of the playing and the power they've got is just amazing.
and of course highly competitive as well, similar to our brass bands.
I don't know how they can play and do all these figures at the same time. Because if I, I've never marched before, but now I'm conducting over here. So I've never done it playing, but now conducting, they still have this tradition that they play a march over here in Switzerland whilst they're marching. So I have to cue them in with the whistle and have to count them in. So I had to take a lesson for that, because I didn't know how it goes.
I think I'd be the same. I think I'd be the same. Hayden's asking, could you tell us a little bit about the process of making a CD, and more specifically how you go about selecting the repertoire? So first of all, Glenn, how many CDs have you made now?
I've got three with brass band, two with piano, and then I've got a wind band one as well. But nobody knows about that one, because it's the Belgian army asked me to do one. Um, so I like the CD. So the Horowitz Concerto is on there with wind band,
Right.
There's a couple of new pieces. There's Ascension by Tom DeVoren with James Fountain on trumpets on there. There's the Bert Appermont Concerto, Cantifonia, on there. Um, but then they made the cover all about themselves, and it's like a massive picture of the band, but like everybody, like kids could do it on Photoshop. And then small, there's like an ugly picture of me, and then there's the Belgian army band in concert with Glenn, but it's a full solo CD actually. So I never really made. Uh,
Oh, well, we'll have to look. We'll have to look that one up because I'm sure it'll be Ascension by Tom DeVore, and that's actually a really good duet, isn't it?
yeah, it's very good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so the other CDs, where are they available from? Website or particular platforms?
Yeah, I think my first CD was on CD Baby. I don't know if it still exists, but it's on there. Um, I have to find a way to put it on iTunes or some other stuff
Hmm.
to download. But I'm very bad with technology, so that's why you don't see a lot of videos from myself playing now. Uh,
I think it must be
um,
it must be a euphonium thing.
yeah. But but it's sold out the other one, so I don't have any hard copies of that one. But the others are still available from World of Brass or from myself. Both the piano and brass CDs are, yeah.
So when you're preparing for a CD, as well as the repertoire, does the stamina become something you work towards? What is the process for you? To
Yeah,
answer Hayden's question.
yes, stamina is a big is a big part of it because you have to play the band. When you're recording, you've got a certain amount of time, and in that amount of time, you have to put it right on the disc. And you're not on your own. That's the hard part. So sometimes you play amazing, and then the band makes a mistake, so you have to do it again. So it's not only in your hands. So you have to be very strong stamina wise, and also for your mind. I think I sleep a lot before, and be sure that I'm in a very good shape before even this counts for competitions as well. When I did competitions and CDs or a big concert, I don't drink alcohol for the month before, just to be as ready as possible. Um, and yeah, stamina is a very big part, and picking the right repertoire as well, because you can't put 3 or 4 15-minute pieces on one CD. The goal for me, the CD has to be, the people have to listen to it from start to finish. Of course, we all gonna listen to a couple of tracks that we really want to, but you have to find a story that tells that, like it would be a recital, and you have to keep people as interested as possible. Um, that they say at the end of the CD, "Oh, it's over now already," but they've been listening to you for an hour. So it's, yeah, the picking the right program, and the order is maybe even more important. The program order.
Well, Glenn, that's absolutely fantastic. We could keep talking all day, and hopefully, once lockdown has finished and international travel is allowed and everything else, you'll be able to come out here to the US and meet the students in person and play a recital for us or something like that. We'd certainly love to welcome you in person in that way. But thank you so
Yeah.
much for giving us your time. I know you had to rework your schedule to make this happen, and we really appreciate it. So on behalf of all of us, thank you very much, Glenn Van Looy.